You're the kind of athlete who works very hard, that you put in a lot of effort, that you do extra, that you go to the gym, that you train extra on the pitch, but when you go to compete, when you enter the competition, you freeze. You feel like you're not playing up to your full potential because there's something on the back of your mind you're worried about making mistakes, about getting embarrassed, about disappointing others and letting your teammates down. This video will show you the one thing that you must train to overcome all those things that you're facing that are not getting any better by working harder, by putting in more effort. And that is because you're not training the one thing that you need to train, and that's your brain. In this video, I'm going to explain what you are supposed to do if you're facing things like that. So, to begin the video, I want you to understand that the brain, the thing that controls you 100% of the time, is making those things to happen because it makes more sense. And you might think, it doesn't make sense for me to work hard and then fear making mistakes on the pitch. That doesn't make sense for you rationally, but that makes you a lot of sense emotionally. And that is because you feel that way. Because for your brain, it makes more sense to behave that way, to play safe, to pass back, to not take risks, instead of taking risks, instead of making yourself vulnerable to the mistakes and to criticism. If you don't change how this thing is working, you are not going to play any better. It doesn't matter if you're the fastest, the strongest, the most skillful player. If you don't change how this thing works, you are not going to play any better. So, if you think, if your mind, if the thoughts that you're having, if the approach that you have for the game is that when you make a mistake, they think that I'm not good enough, I am disappointing my teammates, I'm letting my teammates down, my coach is not going to play me anymore, those thoughts are creating the emotions of fear, of anxiety, of anger, of disappointment. And those emotions are going to control the behavior of playing safe, of not taking risk, of passing the ball back, of hiding behind defenders, of looking at others to see their reactions when you make a mistake. All those things are strengthening the idea for your brain that it makes sense to play safe. Because all this process here, those thoughts, those emotions, and this behavior is telling your brain, this is dangerous, I don't want others to judge me, I don't want to disappoint others, I don't want to fail, take me out of here. And when all of this process is building those ideas, even at a lower degree, even if you're not desperate to leave that situation, but you are uncomfortable in being there, you don't want to be in that place, you want the game to finish as soon as possible, you want to no one watch you play, you don't want your family, you don't want your friends, you don't want anybody to see you there. You are signaling to your brain, I don't want this, I want to go home, I want to be safe, I want you to protect me. And when you are in these states, you're basically building mental blocks. You are working on creating mental blocks because you are having experiences that are signaling to your brain, I don't like this. This is not safe. This is not enjoyable. And the more that you signal those things to your brain and the more repetition that you have on those signals, the more your brain is going to practice this, the more mental blocks you're going to develop, and the further away you get from realizing your true potential. Instead, what you need to do is to create a routine, to create a mental training routine that will allow you to, instead of fearing, instead of trying to get away from that scenario as soon as possible, you start looking forward to it. The chemistry that happens in your brain in these two different scenarios is massive. In one side, you are releasing a lot of cortisol into your system, making yourself more stressed, more anxious, more fearful, less focused, and entering the fight or flight mode. You're ready to fight someone, you have a lot of power, but you have zero creativity, you have zero enjoyment, zero freedom, because you are ready to fight, you're ready to get away from it. And on the other side, when you look forward to it, when you're motivated, when you're focused, when you're engaged with the game, with the experience of playing your sports, you release more dopamine, you're motivated. Dopamine is linked to entering the zone of flow, to recognizing patterns, to understand what's happening in the game, to improving your focus, to decreasing the perception of effort. That makes you able to run extra without even feeling like you were tired, because the chemistry happening in your brain at that time is completely different. So how do we do that? We need to build a new belief. So for building a new belief, what we have to do is to assign a new way of viewing that situation. So for example, if I recognize that I have those thoughts during the competition, and the meaning that I have for the competition is, this is dangerous for me, this is not safe, I don't want to be here, others will judge me. So if that's the perception, it is as if I have connections in the brain that tell me that. So imagine that this happened multiple times in the past, and I felt like this multiple times in the past, so those connections are quite strong. And because they are quite strong, when I'm playing and I tell myself, don't worry about mistakes, mistakes are part of the process, no one cares about it, just play your game. It is as if you're doing this. And look at the difference in the connections, so those are connections in your brain. Look at the difference in those connections to this connection, to how that impacts you. And if that is the only thing that you have to balance this out, to balance these modes, you're not going to play better. You are not going from that place of high stress, cortisol, fight or flight, to enjoying, motivated focus. Because when you compare the connections, what makes more sense to your brain is this. Because those are the connections that were practiced multiple times in the past. What we want to do? Assign a new belief. I'm here to grow, I'm here to improve, mistakes are part of the process, I'm playing to realize my full potential, I'm playing the sport that I love, anything. In the academy, in my online program, we walk you through this step by step. What are the coping mechanisms? What are the new beliefs that are trying to practice? Once we assign that, it is just this. So it's still a lot weaker in comparison to the old emotions that I have, to that old perception of the competition of others are judging me. I'm gonna get released from the club. The coach doesn't think I'm good enough. I'm not at the same level. I'm here, I'm gonna get embarrassed, I'm gonna fail. All those things, they're still a lot weaker than that. Then we need to get some repetition. Just like anything else in life, we need to repeat something until it gets better. If you want to get faster, you need to sprint more. If you want to get stronger, you need to lift more. If you want to get stronger mentally, you need to train your mindset. You need to train your new behavior, new mentality, until it becomes the standard, until it becomes actually strong and able to face pressure, criticism, challenges. So we want to get those repetitions in. We start at the lowest level possible. So if you want to train this new approach of I'm here to learn, I'm here to grow, we can start practicing that and practice and training, or even playing with friends. And then we practice that in training. And then we practice that at friendly matches. And then we practice that at games. And then we practice that at the most important games. And then we practice that in a higher level. When you change teams, when you sign a better contract. So the idea is that we start getting those repetitions in at different levels to strengthen my idea of seeing those scenarios as opportunities to grow and learn. The more I do this, the better I get, the more I'm strengthening those connections in my brain. So if we take that into consideration, imagine that playing with friends, this idea of fight or flight, stress, is weaker. It is not as strong as this. So as we get some repetition in, this will very quickly become stronger than that. Now, as we move up the level, we need to make this even stronger. So we keep repeating. So as we move up these levels, the idea is that all of those connections, they're going to become a lot stronger because we are repeating them. Now, the tricky part is the mental training. This is what's going to allow you to move up levels with the same approach. So if I'm just repeating the same stuff for myself and then I approach a new scenario that has a lot more pressure, but I'm not ready to face that, it doesn't matter. I'm just facing something that's harder without the skills. The mental training tools is what's going to allow us to move up levels and strengthen those things. For example, if I'm using visualization to prepare myself, to prime myself, to respond to mistakes in a new way, and then I face this scenario, I can succeed because I prepare myself for it. If I start using a breathing technique to reduce my stress level before a game, I'm better able to face this. If I start using journaling to strengthen those beliefs every single day or a few times a week, I'm better able to move up to this level. If I start using hypnosis before I face those events, I'm ready to move up to this level. If I start using a pre-game routine that helps me to enter my optimal mental state before I compete, I can move up to this level. So the idea is that we incorporate drills, that we incorporate tools that are going to allow you to be in that same mental state, strengthen those beliefs, create mental skills that are going to make you better to face higher levels of stress. All those tools, all those drills that I mentioned just now are going to help you massively, massively. All of those are tools that I use with top athletes. And if you want to start using them, I have two options for you. You can join my online program. We have over 1,000 athletes using it, and it has all steps to guide you through all things that you must do, all the mechanisms that you gotta learn. There's over 160 classes in there walking you through step by step all mental skills that I need to develop. And the second option is working with me one-on-one. Because spots are limited, that is a bit more expensive, but you are welcome on both of them. Check the links in the description of the video, and I hope that you start taking your mental game seriously. I'll see you soon.